This is my Trello account and I use it as an online Kanban, and it's really easy to add a card if you've got a free hand. If you don't, Alexa, ask my Kanban to add a task.
What task would you like to add?
Create a tutorial.
How would you describe that task?
Explain how to create a custom skill using IBM Bluemix to connect your applications.
Okay, all set. Task added.
And we have the task added with a nice, helpful description of that task. So if writing custom skills and connecting them to your apps sounds interesting to you, then give me 10 minutes or so and you will be able to do this too. To build this skill, I need to use these three websites. The first one is the Amazon Developer Console, where I define the interface to the skill. Then this tab over here is Trello. This is where I see the effects of the skill. This is the app that I use to manage my to-do list. It's like an online Kanban board. You can create multiple boards and each board has multiple lists. You add cards to a list and move it between the lists as the progress of the task changes. Finally, this middle tab is IBM Bluemix. This is where I will implement the skill and build the integration with Trello. You will see later that we also have the option of building integrations with a number of different apps. So the overall picture is this. When I speak to Alexa, she uploads my speech to Amazon Cloud, where it is analysed and converted to an API call, and that goes into Bluemix, where OpenWith invokes App Connect to achieve the integration with Trello. So let's start by defining the skill on the Amazon Developer Console. To do that, I launch the Alexa Skills Kit and add a new skill. First thing I'm going to do is change the language to UK, because if you couldn't tell from my accent, I am based in UK. Then I give the skill a name. This is just a name that I use to identify it in the list of skills in this console. And then the important part, the invocation name. This is the name that Alexa uses to identify the skill. So when I say Alexa ask my Kanban to add a task, she knows that this is the skill that I'm invoking. I don't need to use audio player on this skill. So that's me done on the basic skill information. I now move on to the interaction model, where I can define the interaction as a JSON document. But to make things more intuitive, I'm going to use the new skills builder, which is a graphical UI to build that definition. And straight away you can see the key concepts of a skill interaction. We have intent, which are like the functions that the skill can perform. For each intent there is one or more utterances, phrases that you can use to ask the skill to perform that action. I'm going to create a new intent that will add a task to my to-do list. I enter the obvious utterance. However, language is not that straightforward, and as a human being I tend to use different phrases at different times, even when I have the same intent. So I'll teach Alexa other utterances that have the same intent. In this one, I will introduce a variable part of the phrase, remind me to blank. This is called a slot, which is kind of like a parameter to the function. Slots have types, and each type has a list of values. Now this list is not meant to be exhaustive, but is there just to help train Alexa to recognize typical values. If you say anything that doesn't sound close to one of these values, Alexa will do her best to convert it to text. For my task name and task description, I don't really have any typical values, it's really just free form. But I need to enter something, so I'll just enter something for the sake of it. You probably want to play about with these, because the more examples you have, the better Alexa is at recognizing. You may even need to put in some multi-word phrases to help her realize that these slots could be more than one word. Anyway, once I've defined the intent, utterances and the slot, I'm done on the interaction model. So I'll save that and build it. It takes a few minutes to build, so I'll just pause the recording for now. Now the interaction model is built, I can complete the configuration. I need to specify the endpoint. Where is the code that will perform this function? I can choose to use Amazon's Lambda, or in fact any arbitrary HTTP endpoint. this is what I'm going to choose. So I'm going to use Bluemix, which can give me the integration with my favourite apps. The only thing left here is to provide the URL. So let's hop over to Bluemix and figure out what that URL is going to be. OpenWhisk is Bluemix's serverless compute platform, and it's based on Apache open source project, OpenWhisk. Bluemix makes it really easy to create some code, and the beauty of serverless is that you only pay when your code runs, rather than pay for compute resources to sit on standby. So it's ideal for things like Alexa skills, because you need them to be available at the drop of a hat when you want them, but it would be wasteful to pay for that code being available on a server 24/7. You can see I've already got some implementation of some basic skills. I actually use these to introduce my children to coding, and OpenWhisk is ideal for that because it's such a low entry point. You can get your children coding on the cloud in no time. So that's how easy it is to get started with OpenWhisk. But let's see for ourselves. Now I've created an action. I can edit its code right here in the browser. I'll start by hard coding a response, a really basic implementation of the skills. Alexa needs the response to be in a specific format, and this text field here is essentially the words that Alexa would speak once the intent is complete. After making it live, I can go up to the actions detail and find the URL I need to invoke that action. And now I can enter that in the skill configuration page back on the Amazon developer console. So now I'm ready to test that skill. I can do a basic test here just by typing the utterance, and we can see the response. But that's not very interesting, it's just a hard-coded response. So let's do the real integration now. Let's do the integration with Trello. For this, I'm going to go back into Bluemix and navigate to the integration services page. And given I want to connect to my favourite apps, I'm going to create an instance of the App Connect service. And once that service is provisioned, we jump straight in, skipping the welcome carousel, and then create flows for an API. Now, App Connect encourages good RESTful API design, so we begin by defining the model of a resource, in this case a task, and defining the properties that model has, task name and task description. Once I have defined those properties, I will implement an operation. So let's start with the create or replace operation. The implementation of the operation uses this flow paradigm. At the very minimum, the flow has a request with the data coming in, and the response with the data going back to the caller. And in the middle, I can add any actions or logic that I like. In this case, I'm going to add a Trello action, but you can see that there are a whole palette of applications that I could connect to. So I add the Trello add card to list action, and then I need to connect to Trello. I need to tell Trello that I give App Connect permission to access my Trello account, which it then does to discover the boards that I have created on that account. And once I've chosen a board, it discovers the lists on that board. Now I have chosen the list that I want to add a card to, I can enter the data, the name and the description that comes from that request that came via OpenWhisk from Alexa. I don't need to send anything back on the response for this one, so I'm done. Now I can start the API. So now we have an API that can integrate with Trello. I just need to change the implementation of the OpenWhisk action to call this API rather than the basic hard-coded response from earlier. Now, rather than edit the code in the browser, I'm going to switch to Atom here because there's a little bit more code to work with this time, and I like my rinse checking and auto indenting from the IDE that I use. The code is a bit more detailed, but essentially all I'm doing is making an HTTP call to the App Connect API. Most of the code is already written, and I just need to copy and paste the credentials, user ID and password for this new API from the App Connect Manage panel to set up a basic auth header, and then insert the URL, which again I copy from the App Connect panel, and I add the name of the resource, the task, plus the unique ID, the value that came from the task name slot, and then the other slot value goes into the request body. So once that code is complete, I can use the risk command line to update the code on OpenRisk, and that doesn't take very long at all. So now I can switch back to the Amazon Developer Console and test the skill again. Instead of typing the utterance this time, I'm going to grab the JSON that was generated previously and use it so that I can add values for the slot. And there it is, they have to respond. So let's check on Trello. And there we have it. The card is added with the name and description that came from those slot values, just like we saw at the beginning of the video when I actually spoke the command into the Alexa device. So what we did there is we customized Alexa by using OpenRisk and App Connect and IBM Bluemix to easily integrate with the application. I really hope this is helpful to you and you have an opportunity to try it for yourself.